Hello everyone. How are you all beautiful people? Hope all of you are doing great, and yes, this is a new series where our main character get incarnated into Naruto universe with overpower bloodline by God. Now he will follow his own path and bring changes in the new anime world he find himself in. So without a delay, let's start. Chapter 1, Rebirth. My head hurts so badly. Rudra clutches his forehead as a sudden pain in his forehead startled him awake. Where am I? He looks around only to be greeted by a completely white room. Am I kidnapped? These are his first thoughts. Rudra slowly stands up and looks for an exit. After seemingly walking for 15 minutes, he is unable to figure out the dimensions of the room, much less an exit. The room is white as far as he could see. He groans in pain as his head hurts and some memories flood in. My name is Rudra Rishamia, a 26 years medical student. This year I graduated with my master's degree and went out with my friends to celebrate our graduation late at night. After celebrating till midnight, I returned to my hostel dorm to sleep. The hostel dorm room wasn't the best out there. On the contrary, they were quite old and dilapidated. But who is he to complain, when most student lives in similar conditions? After he entered the room, he switched on that creepy LED room bulb which flickered off and on because of poor voltage supply. Damn. That LED bulb always gave me goosebumps whenever I switched it on late at night. I had complained numerous times to the dorm caretaker to fix the line, but it always fell on deaf ears. I always wondered if someday that bulb will short circuit and burn me to death in my sleep. Shaking his head, Rudra recalls the events again. After he switched on the bulb, he entered the washroom and washed up to remove his tiredness as then went to sleep. I remembered switching on the fan as I laid on the bed. Wait a moment. It was that damn fan that fell on my head and crushed my head instead of that creepy bulb. I knew it, someday that hostel room would be the death of me. But never I expected it to be that fan. Rudra takes a deep breath and curses those hostel authorities. Fuck you all. Damn it. In all years of my college life, you killed me on my last day of college. Ugh. I am so mad. Rudra kicks up a fuss as he madly curses those hostel authorities to vent his frustration. Never mind. It's not like I will return to life. He shakes his head in dismay. Meanwhile, a transparent apparition is looking at the antics of Rudra and is amazed by Rudra's tantrum. He chuckles slightly and approaches Rudra. The sudden chuckle startles Rudra, and he turns around to locate the source of that chuckle. He is stunned to see an apparition walking towards him. Is that another ghost? Rudra is scared to see the apparition. You are. The apparition smiles at him and releases a soothing aura to lower his guard. Don't worry, child. I am not a ghost or spirit. I am what humans call a god. God proclaims his identity. Really? Rudra is doubtful of the claim, but he decides to trust the other party. Am I dead? God is startled to hear this question from Rudra. Yes, child. You are dead. So, I really died. Rudra's expression turns solemn and he sulks in a corner. God stares at Rudra's solemn expression and sighs to himself. The Reaper picked up the wrong soul again. Lately, he is making a lot of blunders. Looks like I have to replace him. Child. Don't lose hope. God consoles Rudra's poor soul. You still have a chance. What? Really? Can I return back to life? Rudra ecstatically stares at God. No. That's not possible. After your death, your family members held a funeral for you and incinerated your body. So, you don't have a body to revive. God shakes his head. Is that so? The light in Rudra's eyes turns dim. Child. Don't lose hope yet. Although you can't return to your previous life, there is still the next life. So, I can reincarnate. Joy appears in Rudra's eyes. Then what kind of world will I reincarnate into? He curiously stares at the god. God ponders for a while and turns to Rudra. Initially, you were going to reincarnate on Earth and live a successful next life with the amount of karma you have amassed in this life. But I will give you a choice of world. Rudra ponders for a while as the memories of various animes, novels, comics, and stories cycle through his mind. Then I will choose the Naruto world. He relays his thoughts without hesitation. Naruto world. God raises an eyebrow. Are you sure about that? Yes, I am. Rudra nods his head. Since you chose such a dangerous world, I can't allow you to go and die there again. I will turn your karma into boons. These boons will give you an initial advantage, but after a while, you will have to depend on yourself. Boons. Rudra's eyes shine brightly. Can I pick my boons? He excitedly asks God. No. God shakes his head. I will give you 3 boons. Your first boon will be elemental affinity. Since it is a world with chakra, you need talent to wield elements. So, I grant you an affinity for all elements from birth. Although you have an affinity for every element, you still have to train and master your proficiency on your own. That's quite good. Rudra nods his head. I won't shy away from hard work and training. I haven't spent countless hours in the cadaver room performing surgeries on corpses for nothing. It requires a strong will and patience to do so. Noticing Rudra's resolute expression, God nods his head. Your second boon is a large chakra pool and enhanced regeneration. It will increase your survival. Now for the final boon. God turns to Rudra and asks him. Which clan would you like to be born in? Which clan? Any clan outside the Uzumaki, Senju, Hyuga, and Uchiha is a no-go. These clans are the real powerhouses of the Naruto world. Rudra weighs his options. In the later series, the whole world is based on ocular power. So, I will remove Senju and Uzumaki from the list, which leaves me with Hyuga and Uchiha. One has Bakugan and the other has Sharingan. Bakugan can evolve to Tensogun and Jogan, whereas Sharingan can evolve to Mangekyo Sharingan, Rinnegan and Rin Sharingan. Rudra ponders the ups and downs of both clans. If I am born in a branch family of Hyuga, then I will be branded with their cursed seal at birth and will be oppressed by the main family. As for the Uchiha clan, I will have to worry about survival. Wait. Survival. Since I survive no matter what, then might as well pick the Uchiha clan. As for the problem related to the clan massacre, I will see it in the future. Also, most of the Badis characters of the series are from the Uchiha clan. Take Madara, Itakai, Shisui, and Sasuke for example. Rudra makes a decision. I want to be a part of the Uchiha clan. Then Uchiha clan is it then? God nods his head. Then, I will reincarnate you in the Uchiha clan. But do you really want to be born in the Naruto world? You still have a chance to pick a more peaceful world, don't regret your decision later. The god warns him. These words pour a bucket of cold water on Rudra's head and think about his options. There were too many powerful beings in that universe. Leaving Ishiki Otsutsuki, Kaguya Otsutsuki, Momoshiki, Kinshiki, and Yoroshiki Otsutsuki aside, there is an entire clan of Otsutsuki members. Then there is Madara, Obito, Pain, and all those powerful ninjas. Looking at the name of such figures, mere talent and hard work aren't enough. He also needs luck to overcome such obstacles. Thankfully, God provided him an opportunity. I lived this life full of regret, but I won't make the same mistake again. Even if I die early, at least I will die content. Rudra has a resolute expression. That's the spirit. God nods his head in satisfaction. All right. Since you wish to be born as an Uchiha, then I will remove the bloodline limit imposed on you. Also, the world might be a little different from your knowledge. Rudra gratefully bows his head to God. Farewell then. Also, keep in mind to live your new life to the fullest with no regrets. I would watch over you. Farewell. A white light engulfs Rudra's body, and he loses consciousness. God looks at the departing back of Rudra and remembers the blunder caused by the Reaper. It was Rudra's roommate's turn to die, but Reaper accidentally picked up this guy instead. While Rudra was grieving his death, God was checking his profile. This boy had a tragic past. His parents passed away when he was a kid. His uncle adopted and raised him. It wasn't out of kindness, but greed. The greed to inherit Rudra's fortune, left behind by his father. As he grew up, the attitude of his uncle and aunt turned cold as they forced him to hand over a large portion of his fortune as compensation for raising him. To distract himself from this mess, he enrolled in a medical university to pursue a career in medicine. His parents wished him to become a doctor and Rudra dedicated all of his efforts to their dream. He was a compassionate person who will secretly help various poor people through illegal operations. Though it was a severe crime to practice without a degree, the boy had enough belief in himself. After all, those poor people had no options. They had no money to pay for medical expenses and one way or another they will die eventually. So, they chose to believe in Rudra. This act of kindness helped him amass karma. Your destiny is your own, even if fate has something else in store for you. God shakes his head and summons the Reaper. Chapter 2, Madara is my grandfather. Rudra groggily opens his eyes. His body feels weak and there is a stinging pain in his butt. He suddenly feels an urge to cry. Awa! Awa! Sounds of the wailing of a baby echo in the forest. Akira Uchiha and Eiko Uchiha dotingly gaze at their newborn son. They were worried when the newborn infant remained silent after the birth. Congratulations, Akira and Eiko. Another person enters the hideout. Your newborn son took your looks, Akira. When he will grow, he will surely be a lady killer like you. These words interrupt their thoughts. Oh. You are here, Yagami. How is it outside? Akira cautiously mutters these words as he activates his Sharingan to check the chakra signature of Yagami. Everything is all right for now. There is no need to worry. Yagami replies. Upon confirming the identity of Yagami, Akira heaves a sigh of relief and greets him. Thank you, Yagami. I would also like to hear good news on your side too. I heard that Fumiko is also pregnant and could give birth any time. I would like to see my nephew soon if we are able to escape alive from this ambush today. Akira closes his eyes and sorts through the events. A few months ago. Inside the Hokage office. Hiruzen. The situation at the border is constantly deteriorating. Iwa is instigating the war insurgents of Takegakure to attack our borders. Danza clenches his staff. I am already aware of it. The leader of the war insurgents has Iwa's backing. So, it's hard to track his whereabouts, much less assassinate him. We have lost many shinobis because of this. Hiruzen rubs his forehead. Why don't you commission the Uchiha clan for this mission? Danza raises a question. No. That won't do. Uchihas have already contributed their fair share in the previous war and they are currently in process of recuperating. Also, recently there are various reports of their members going missing or being killed during missions. Hiruzen shakes his head. Then, do you have any other solution for it? Danza groans. The members of the rest of the clans are already holding the fort at borders. Hiruzen. You can't be lenient with the Uchiha clan. Danza pressures him. Danza is right. Homura and Koharu enter the office. You guys. Fine. I will talk with the Uchiha clan leader. Hiruzen relents under their constant pressure. It has been almost 8 months since the clan issued the mission to 3 of them. They infiltrated Takegakura's rogue shinobis. Unbeknownst to them, Eiko was pregnant at that time. Akira and Yagami slowly rose through ranks in the organization and became the right-hand and left-hand man of the leader, respectively. Finally, after 8 months, Akira got an opportunity to assassinate the leader. After the assassination, they successfully escaped the organization and arrived at the borders. But somehow, Iwa ninjas were waiting for them in ambush. Akira has doubts that someone leaked the information of their mission to Iwa ninjas. It has been a week since the relentless pursuit of Iwa ninjas. The group has clashed multiple times with the Iwa ninjas and killed a lot of them. Their supplies are almost running out and they are exhausted mentally and physically. The enemy ninjas are out for blood and they never left pursuing their trail. The recent team they annihilated comprised 5 jounins, 10 special jounins, 25 chunins, and multiple genins. It was a very close fight. During their previous confrontation, Eiko received a blow on her womb, which led to premature gestation. It has been almost 9 months since her pregnancy and their child was close to being born, but the last battle leads to premature delivery by a week. Akira was worried about his wife and child. But somehow his wife and child made it through. Our son looks healthy. Look at his small beady eyes curiously searching his surroundings. Eiko's voice interrupts Akira's train of thoughts as she happily hugs their son in her embrace. Yes, he will be a great ninja like my father. Akira had a sad expression as he says these words. The identity of his father is a secret, a taboo. No one in the village is aware of it, except his family. His mother raised him alone and never revealed his father's identity to him until her death. He was only aware of the fact that his mother Kasumi Uchiha was the elder sister of Kigami Uchiha, his uncle who was a close aide to the second Hokage Tobirama. Yagami was the only son of his maternal uncle, Kigami. Neither Kigami nor Kasumi mentioned anything about his father until their death. It was on her deathbed that his mother mentioned that his father was none other than the famed co-founder of the village Madara Uchiha. He was grief-stricken because of the death of his mother and the revelation of his father's name. His father was a traitor and deserter of the village. To preserve her son's life, Kasumi never mentioned Madara's name to anyone. Only his uncle was aware of this matter and he too never disclosed it to anyone, not even to the second Hokage. After all, he is the grandson of the ghost of the Uchiha clan, Madara Uchiha. Rudra is stunned when his new father spoke these words. From listening to his parents' conversation, he came to know about a lot of things. First, his parents' names are Akira and Eiko Uchiha, and Yagami Uchiha is the name of his uncle. But that isn't the important point. I am reborn as Madara's grandson. Even he can't believe his own words. Really? There was such a thing in Naruto? Really? Of all the people I could have born to, I was born as Madara's grandson. Wait. Madara had a love interest, and he had a son. Rudra is dumbfounded at this revelation. Things really are different in this Naruto world. Maybe it is an alternate universe of Naruto. Have you thought of a name for him? Yagami questions the couple. It was mother's greatest wish for her grandson to be named after my uncle's name. Akira continues as he gently strokes Rudra's head. Father loved his brother very much. So, I will name my son after my uncle's name in his remembrance. From today onwards my son will be called Izuna Uchiha. That's a good name. Now, I was really curious about the identity of my grandmother. Izuna has a smile on his face. Yagami approaches the newborn child and holds him in his arms as he cries joyfully. I am an uncle now. Fumiko will be thrilled to hear this news. Akira and Eiko have a smile on their face and Akira teases him. Oi! Yagami, we have already named our child. You two decide a name for your child. I have already decided long ago. If my newborn is a girl I will name her Kaori, if it is a boy his name will be Shisui Uchiha. Shisui. Izuna is stunned when he hears this name. Don't tell me, it's Shisui Uchiha. So, Kigami Uchiha is my granduncle. Izuna laughs loudly but only giggles escape from his mouth. Suddenly. Swoosh. Swoosh. The sudden sound disturbs the silence of the forest, as kunais are flung from a trap set near their hideout. Enemy attack. Yagami has a grim expression on his face. The trio immediately raise their guard. Eiko wraps Izuna in her clothes and ties him to her back. Someone triggered the trap set by them, which means an enemy ambush. Yagami and Akira immediately move out from their hiding to sense their enemies. 10 jounins, 20 special jounins, and nearly 30 chunins level ninja had surrounded them. There are no genins as it is meaningless to bring them. There is no need for cannon fodders. Their ambush is ready. This time they will certainly kill these Konoha ninjas and deal a severe blow to Konoha. Chapter 3, Ambush. Edited on the 8th of July, 2021. Iwa ninjas are ready to assault the Konoha Shinobis. After the Second Shinobi War, the tension between two hidden villages has grown even further. This time their targets are powerful Uchiha clansmen with Sharingan. They are notable characters in the bingo book. There are orders for ninjas to run when facing them alone. Akira, the lightning blade, had a bounty of 100 million rial in the bingo book. His name is Lightning Blade because of his mastery of the lightning chakra. He could coat his blade with lightning chakra and slaughter enemies like a reaper. He earned his fame as the lightning blade during the Second Shinobi War. Back then, he slaughtered a group of 2 jounins and 30 chunins with numerous genins while surrounded by enemies. His blade danced on the battlefield as it reaped many lives. Eiko, the red blossom, has a bounty of 75 million rial in the bingo book. She is a very proficient genjutsu expert which paired with her Sharingan is a deadly combo. She is able to put enemies in a genjutsu in the blink of an eye. Red blossom leaves would rain when she initiates her genjutsu. Her genjutsu would end with red blood flowers blooming in the battles. Yagami, the Shadow Flicker has a bounty of 90 million Riao in the bingo book. He is proficient with Body Flicker Jutsu, which he pairs with Shadow Clone Jutsu to confuse his opponents with his extremely fast speed. The moment you figure out the real Yagami would be the moment your head falls off from your body. Facing these opponents would lead to a terrible end, similar to their previous squad who met their doom. They received intel from their spy in Konoha about the Uchiha trio. The intel was a little late, and thus they could only intercept them on their return to Konoha. This time Iwa is ready to pay the necessary price to get rid of these three shinobis. The Jounin commander closes the intel scroll as he explains the details of their target. Gulp. The nearby Chunins gulp a mouthful of saliva. They are the cannon fodder in this mission, as their task is to distract enemies in this fight. The Iwa team warily draws their weapons and slowly surrounds the hiding spot of the Uchiha group. Fire style, Great Fireball Jutsu. Wind style, Furious Gale. A massive fireball enhanced by wind jutsu drops in between the Jounins and Chunins. Ugh! Ah! Half of the Chunins are immediately engulfed in flames as their screams echoes in the forest. Even some of the nearby special Jounins are caught in the attack too. This attack was too sudden for them to react. Huff! Huff! Akira and Yagami breathe heavily as they confront the remaining Iwa shinobis. Their combination attack was able to take down lots of Chunins, but the primary target was the tracking unit of the special Jounins. The attack was a success as most of the tracking nins were killed. Akira immediately unsheathes his chakra blade and coats it with lightning chakra. Clang! He blocks an attack from the Jounin commander of the Iwa nins. Akira easily repels the surprise attack. TCH. The Iwa nin commander clicks his tongue. He used the opportunity after the previous fireball jutsu to launch a counter-attack. But he failed to get a hit in. After failing his attack, he retreats as the skirmish begins without any words from either side. Clang, clang. Clashes of kunais and blades echo in the silent forest as sparks erupt after each collision. Eiko, who is hiding nearby, has amassed enough chakra for her genjutsu. Swish, swish. She quickly makes some hand signs. Genjutsu, Sharingan, Demonic Flower Blossom. Red blossoms began to rain as many Iwa ninjas are caught in the genjutsu. Eiko retreats, as she had expanded half of her remaining chakra reserve to cast the previous genjutsu. She creates an opportunity for the duo. Akira and Yagami nod towards each other. Whoosh, whoosh. They immediately began to massacre the Iwa Jounins. Akira stabs two of the Jounins with his lightning blade and Yagami slits the head of one Jounin and remaining tracker nins. Release. The Iwa nin commander is the first to dispel the genjutsu. He notices the slaughter caused by the trio. Damn you, Konoha scums. He quickly makes some hand signs and smashes his hands on the ground. Earth style, fissure. The ground split apart and a gigantic rift appears beneath Akira and Yagami. Swoosh. Both of them jump in the air and avoid the attack. Whoosh. They reunite with Eiko as all three of their back are placed against each other. They warily stare at the remaining shinobis of Iwa. It's just like the second shinobi war. Akira has a helpless expression. There are 7 Jounins, 15 special Jounins, and 15 Chunins left on Iwa's side. We are almost out of chakra. The real fight is about to begin as many Iwa Jounins have yet to expand their chakra. I will handle the Jounin commander. Akira nods as he clashes with the Iwa nin commander. Both Eiko and Yagami confront the remaining Jounins. Swish, swish. The Iwa commander makes some hand signs and slams his palm on the ground. Earth style, mud prison. He isolates Akira from Eiko and Yagami as he smirks at Akira. Akira, the lightning blade. The rock fiend Daichi of Iwa will send you to the afterlife. Akira ignores his taunt and makes some hand signs. Lightning style, lightning blade cutter. He coats his chakra blade with lightning and he slices a nearby wall in half. Daichi makes more hand signs. Earth style, mud thorns. Multiple massive spikes erupt from the ground and aim for Akira. Swoosh. Akira jumps up and avoids the attack. Earth style, mud bullet. Daichi spews out a mud bullet and aims it at Akira. Shing. Akira predicts the trajectory of the mud bullet with his Sharingan and bends his body in midair to dodge the attack. While in midair, he makes some hand signs. Fire style, Phoenix Flower Jutsu. He spews out a large number of small fireballs at the Iwa commander. Earth style, Earth Wall. Iwa commander blocks the fireballs with an earth wall. Boom. Boom. The fireballs explode on top of the mud wall. Ha! Swoosh! Akira flickers towards the mud wall with the lightning blade in his hand. Slash! He slices through the mud wall and aims for the head of the Iwa commander. The lightning blade slices through the Iwa Jounin commander. The latter melts in a pool of mud. A mud clone. This is bad. Akira hurriedly jumps in the air as the clone melts to reveal a large number of paper bombs. Release. Boom. A massive explosion occurs as the paper bomb explodes on top of Akira. Dust and debris rise in the air. The deafening explosion shakes the nearby ground. Bang. Akira is thrown out from the blast. He slams into a nearby tree. Blower. Akira coughs up some blood. He was able to predict the path of explosion using his Sharingan and thus was able to avoid most of the impact. Even so, the explosion was too powerful, and the shock waves hit him. I have no time to waste. This is an opportunity. Akira slowly stands up as he supports his body with his blade. Ruthlessness flashes through his eyes as he makes some hand signs. Lightning style, lightning spear. He coldly stares at the Iwa Jounin commander who is blinded by the dust and debris of the explosion. Swoosh. He throws the lightning blade towards the enemy commander. Stab. The lightning spear stabs the commander straight in the heart. Ah! His eyes widen in surprise as he stares at a badly wounded Akira. His consciousness slowly fades away as his last words are stuck in his mouth. You didn't die from the explosion. Meanwhile, things aren't looking good on Eiko and Yagami's side. They are continuously assaulted by the attacks from the remaining 6 Iwa Jounins, other special Jounins, and Chunins. Eiko gathers some of her remaining chakra and casts another genjutsu to distract the Iwa ninjas while Yagami deals with them. Genjutsu, Sharingan. The enemy ninjas are caught in her genjutsu as they are temporarily paralyzed by it. Swish. She takes out a kunai from her holster and dashes towards the enemies to slit their throat. She takes out kunais and shurikens from her holster and throws them at nearby chunins to clear their distraction. In the meantime, Yagami is able to successfully kill another Iwa Jounin before the rest of them dispel the genjutsu. Only 5 Jounins and 10 special Jounins are left. They have killed all the chunins. Boom! A huge explosion occurs inside the mud prison as it crumbles apart. Smoke and dust block their vision as large amounts of debris are hurled their way. The shock wave from the explosion flung them away. Whoosh! Eiko and Yagami quickly take cover behind the trees. Eiko has a worried expression as she stares at the remains of the mud wall. Dust and debris settle to reveal a haggard Akira kneeling with one foot on the ground. The corpse of the Iwa Jounin commander lies in front of him. Chapter 4, Desperate Straits. The Iwa Nin commander was dead. All of the remaining Iwa ninjas were stunned to see this. But they soon got their bearings as their enemies were out of chakra and many of them had preserved their chakra. They began to surround Akira, Eiko, and Yagami. Indeed, Akira and Eiko were out of chakra and were weakened. Akira got serious injuries from the earlier explosion. Most of the flesh from his left hand was torn as it was blown by the explosion. His left hand was barely hanging as it was almost disabled and need immediate attention. Eiko wasn't in a good state too. She was still weak from her delivery of Izuna. Although she was a ninja and had a stronger body, but prematurely delivering Izuna and then constantly fighting with enemies took a toll on her body. Yagami was in a better condition compared to both of them. His body flicker didn't use much chakra and he wasn't seriously injured either. All three of them faced the Iwa ninjas with their backs touched to each other. Eiko lovingly gazed at Izuna as she muttered, "Don't worry, mother will protect you at all cost." She wrapped Izuna tightly in bandages and tied him to her back. She made sure to leave some breathing space for the baby. Izuna looked at the fight between his parents and Iwa ninjas as tears began to flow his eyes. He cried silently, as he doesn't want to distract his mother to tend to him. Izuna thought to himself, "I was an orphan in my previous life. My parents were doctors and they wanted me to become a doctor too. When I was 10 years old they died in a car crash. I was adopted by my uncle's family. They barely paid any attention to me, all that mattered to them was the money my parents left behind. I was successfully enrolled in one of the major medical universities in my country as I wanted to fulfill my parents' wishes. I lost my parents in a previous life, I don't want to lose them again." A large amount of chakra began to gather in his eyes. The emotions triggered a change in his chakra as eyes began to change. A one-tomo Sharingan awakened in both of his eyes. His newborn body wasn't able to bear the stress caused by his violent emotions and the awakening of Sharingan as Izuna fainted. His parents were unaware of the changes in Izuna as they were too focused on the battle ahead and assumed Izuna to be asleep. "We can't hold for too long. We are almost out of chakra reserves and I can only perform another C-rank jutsu before I run dry." Akira told them about his situation. "I am out of chakra and can only rely on kenjutsu and taijutsu to fight." Eiko reminded, "I have a little bit of chakra left for another B-rank jutsu and one C-rank jutsu, after which I would have no chakra to spare." Yagami made them aware of his reserves. Akira and Eiko nodded to each other and they made up their mind. Akira took out a scroll hidden underneath his Jounin vest and he handed it over to Yagami. Yagami was stunned when Akira gave him the intel scroll. Before Yagami could speak, Akira interrupted. "Yagami, you are the only wind user among us. Also, you are fastest among all three of us and you are the only one with some chakra left. We will distract the enemies, while you retreat and hand this information to village. This is very crucial information, we can't delay reporting this to Hokage. Yes, Yagami, you go retreat to the village and take care of my son in our absence." Eiko spoke as she began to untie Izuna from her back. She handed Izuna to Yagami and told him to take care. Yagami had tears in his eyes as he spoke. But I can't do this. Look at newborn Izuna, how would I answer to him when he asks me about his parents? Would I say your uncle was a coward who ran away when your parents put their life on the line to save you? I can't do this. No, buts. Yagami, promise me you will take care of Izuna. We can escape from this situation this time around. If we continue to fight, all three of us will perish and they will kill Izuna too. But if distract them long enough, one of us can escape and maybe call back up. Akira reprimanded Yagami as he reminded him of their mission. Also, you are going to be a father too, go and take care of Fumiko and my nephew. Eiko reminded Yagami of his wife and yet-to-be-born son. Yagami hesitated for a while before he nodded. All right. I will hurriedly retreat and inform the patrol at Fire Nation's border to send back up to you guys. But before that, let me help you guys even if a little. Yagami kept the scroll in his vest's pockets and tied Izuna to his back as he began to weave some hand signs. This conversation only took place in a matter of seconds as Iwanins warily stared at them. Though they were in an advantageous position, they were still wary of any potential trump cards from these Uchiha Shinobis. There was a saying in other villages: never blink before an Uchiha in a battle, otherwise the moment you blinked would be the moment you lose your life. Wind style, vacuum cleaver. Yagami needed a large amount of wind chakra and sucked in a large amount of air as he spewed out a huge scythe made out of the compressed wind. The wind scythe traveled diagonally, chopping down trees as it traveled towards the Iwa ninjas. Iwa ninjas responded quickly as all of them made hand signs in unison and yelled. Earth style, rock wall. Large rock walls were erected from the ground as they blocked the majority of the attack. Still, the rock wall was sliced open and cut down 5 of the special Iwa Jounins, and one Jounin lost his right hand in the attack. Dust and debris rose as trees fell on the ground. Akira and Eiko threw some more smoke bombs in the dust to create a smoke screen. The Iwa ninjas reacted quickly as one of them made hand signs and shouted. Wind style, gale wind. In the meantime, Yagami began to dash towards the Fire Nation border as carried Izuna on his back. He looked back once at Akira and Eiko and prayed in his heart. Please return safely for your son, Izuna. A gale blew away the smoke and dust as Akira and Eiko appeared in Iwa Ninja's vision. They were startled when they were unable to locate the Yagami. Realization dawned on them as one of the Iwa Jounin and 2 special Jounin began to run towards the Fire Nation in the direction of Yagami. Akira and Eiko were helpless to stop them. Instead, they focused their attention on the remaining Iwa ninjas. Today I will show you the skills of the son of Ghost of Uchiha. Akira muttered as he swallowed some chakra pill and began to weave hand signs. He was ready to sacrifice himself to save his son. Eiko silently followed along with Akira as she too swallowed chakra pills to recover some of her lost chakra and began to weave hand signs. Today the Lightning Blossom duo will show their terror to the Iwa ninjas. Yagami was hurriedly running towards the Fire Nation borders to ask for reinforcements. He had tears in his eyes as he knew it was futile. By the time reinforcement will reach them, everything will be over. But he still clung to the final straw of hope for a miracle. Within 10 minutes, the border patrol tower was visible to him as he spotted the patrol team. Reinforcement. We need reinforcements. He huffed as he shouted to the patrol ninjas. The ninja team was startled when they heard a shout. They immediately raised their guard as they were ready for an enemy attack. But they dropped their guard when they noticed the Sharingan and Konoha headband on the newcomers. We were on an important mission and got ambushed while retuning. Huff. Huff. They are 5 Jounins and 5 special Jounin remainings. The direction is 2 o'clock northeast, hurry up and save them. I need to immediately return to the village to inform Hokage-sama. The patrol guards nodded as one of them hurriedly went to inform the captain and the rest of them marched in the specified direction. Yagami ran towards the Konoha village as tears spilled from his eyes. He felt guilty and helpless as he began to reprimand himself on his powerlessness. Large amounts of chakra began to gather around him as it began to flow towards his eyes. Izuna was startled awake as he sensed the amassing of chakra. Blood began to trickle from Yagami's eyes as the 3 tomos in his Sharingan began to spin rapidly. After a while they merged and formed a shuriken pattern tilted at 45 degrees. Yagami had awakened his main Gekyo Sharingan and it is similar to Shisui, that means my parents are, no. Izuna began to wail loudly. Yagami was startled out from his thoughts as he began to tend to Izuna to stop his crying. Don't worry, Izuna. Everything will be all right. I am sure Mama and Papa will return safely. So, don't cry. But he was aware of the dire straits of Akira and Eiko. He was consoling Izuna as well as himself. He marched on as for now, the most important issue was to return to the village. Chapter 5, The Third Hokage. Yagami ran towards the village with his fastest speed. The village was very far from the border and he had to stop for a while before to rest. He stopped near a stream as he drank some water. Yagami was stunned to see the resilience of Izuna as he muttered. All along the way, this kid only cried once and has been silent since then. The kid must be hungry but I have no way to feed him. I have to hurry up to the village and inform Fumiko about this news. Maybe he fell asleep from exhaustion or perhaps newborn infants tend to sleep more. Yagami gently stroked Izuna's head as he went to the stream. He saw his reflection in the water. Yagami activated his Sharingan and he infused a bit more chakra in his eyes as the tomos in his eyes changed to a shuriken pattern. So, this is the forbidden power of the Uchiha clan achieved by the loss of loved ones. I would never wish for this power if it is granted in exchange for the life of your loved one. Yagami muttered as he closed his eyes and stopped infusing chakra in his eyes. After resting for a while, he began to run towards Konoha. He traveled tirelessly for another 6 hours and finally, Konoha appeared in his vision. He increased up his speed a notch as he was in a hurry to inform Hokage. He approached the village but was blocked by 2 Jounin guards. Yagami activated his Sharingan as he forked out a Konoha identity. Upon seeing the Sharingan, the guards nodded and one of them said, "Hurry up. The Hokage is waiting for you to report about the matter." Yagami nodded and hurriedly dashed towards the Hokage monument. He approached the Hokage monument and hurriedly ran towards Hokage's office. One of the guards at the entrance told him, "Hokage-sama had been expecting you." Yagami knocked on the door of Hokage's office. "Come in." A voice came from inside. Yagami twisted the knob of the door as he entered inside the room. A Konoha elder was discussing some matters with the Hokage. Yagami recognized the elder as Danza Shimura of the Root. Root was one of the hidden underground organizations of Konohagakure responsible for gathering intel and Danza was its head. Danza was a very known elder of the village and was the teammate of the third Hokage and was considered as one of the candidates for the seat of Hokage, but he ultimately lost to Hiruzen Sarutabi, who is the current Hokage. The third Hokage nodded to Danza as Danza slowly walked away while gazing at Yagami. Izuna suddenly felt a chill run down his spine as felt like he was being stared by a hungry wolf. I was startled and anxiously looked around. A shaggy black-haired middle-aged man with his right eye concealed in bandages was staring at me. He had a cane in his left hand and there was a scary X-marked scar on his chin. He wore a black, hooded trench coat and high-lengthed black ninja sandals. His right arm was bandaged as it was tied with another bandage and hung from his neck. Fuck. I am scared that's Danza for fuck's sake. Why he staring at me as I owe him something? I must maintain my distance from him until I got strong enough. Danza felt some movements from the baby in Yagami's arm and he thought to himself. I feel like this child is afraid of me. Danza looked at himself and nodded, I indeed look scary in this appearance. Guess I will go with this outfit for a while then. Izuna looked at the retreating back of Danza as gears began to churn in his small brain. Wait a sec. Danza visited Hokage just right before the time Uncle Yagami came to report intel and left as soon as possible. Also, I overheard I1 ninjas talking about a spy, there is definitely a connection. It didn't take long for Izuna to figure out that his parents had been plotted against by Danza. Rage consumed Izuna as he began to struggle in Yagami's arms. Yagami was startled by Izuna's sudden tantrum as he tried his best to appease Izuna. Izuna calmed after a while as he vowed to himself. Danza, the day I get the confidence to kill you will be the day you breathe your last. Izuna knew Danza wasn't an easy opponent. Sasuke was able to beat Danza just out of pure luck as he was holding back to fight against Tobi and was wary of any surprise attack from Tobi. Another factor was that Danza was old at that time and wasn't able to utilize Hashirama's cells skillfully. Although the current Danza didn't have Shisui's Mangekyo, he still had someone else's Sharingan in his right eye. And guessing from the look of his right hand, the arm of Shin Uchiha is yet to be transplanted, which means Orochimaru had yet to transplant Hashirama's cells. Yagami began to report the mission's details to Hokage as explained by all of the events, including the sacrifice of Akira and Eiko and the possibility of a traitor in Konoha. When Yagami was explaining to the third Hokage about the mission, Izuna was staring at him curiously. The Hokage had tan skin and dark brown, spiky hairs, and he had a small goatee to boot. The man was wearing a red full-length kimono which was tied using a white sash. The custom Hokage hat and a smoking pipe was placed on the table and he was attentively listening to Yagami. So, he is the incompetent third Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi. Izuna had mixed feelings about Hiruzen from his description in anime and manga. Izuna had only one word to describe third Hokage: hypocrite. Yes, a hypocrite. Hiruzen was a hypocrite who appeared to withhold various values, will of fire, and shit. And presented himself as the light to the world, but concocted many dark schemes with Danza and many a time would ignore Danza's evil plots and even forgive Orochimaru for his crimes because he was their sensei. If this Hiruzen is the same as described in the manga and anime, then he wouldn't hesitate to add another person to his need to remove list. Hiruzen sighed when he heard about the possible deaths of Akira and Eiko as he consoled Yagami. Don't worry, the village will help to find the bodies of Akira and Eiko. If not, then I wouldn't be able to confront my late friend Kigami after my death. You are Kigami's son and uncle of this child, so I will place this child in your care. Yagami nodded tearfully as he departed from Hokage's office. Hiruzen looked at the departing back of Yagami as he picked up his smoking pipe and began to smoke as he muttered. I hope it was not you, Danza. Teacher Tobirama had already isolated the Uchihas and his actions may lead to unrest among Uchihas. After all, who would like to get kicked despite their loyalty? Hiruzen had a headache as he thought about such matters. He took out a crystal ball from the drawer and began to channel his chakra into the ball. It was his hobby to peek at the new seedlings of the Konoha. He soon spotted a yellow-haired 14-year-old kid in Jounin vest training near Hokage. He nodded to himself, a fine young seedling indeed. Jiraiya had done a really good job to raise such fine young shinobi. He got a headache as he remembered his disciple Orochimaru. Orochimaru was his candidate in line for the position of next Hokage, but Orochimaru somehow was involved with Danza in various things which made him worry. Shaking his head, he continued peeking. Uhan. Observing the young generation of Konoha. Chapter 6, Emergency. After an hour of peeking, Hiruzen stowed the crystal ball back in the drawer. He signaled nearby Anbus who were guarding him to leave him alone for a while. After confirming that all of the Anbus had left the room, Hiruzen retrieved the scroll left by Yagami. He began to read through the scroll and began to contemplate over the intel written in it. The activities of Iwagakure had been pretty suspicious lately. It had been 2 years since the Second Ninja War ended. Konoha faced Tsunegakure and Amigakure. The majority of war took place in Amigakure, led by Hanzo, which led to the downfall of Amigakure. Onaki, that fence-sitter of Iwagakure, joined the war when the majority of the damage was done to both sides. His village reaped the most amount of benefits and managed to consolidate its foundations even more. Although Kumogakure wasn't involved in the Second Ninja War, the Third Raikage had been strengthening his military forces for a while. Konoha didn't suffer any terrain or economic damage, but the war cost the lives of most of its shinobis. So, they are still in the process of recuperating from their losses, and this suspicious activity by Iwagakure raised alarms for them as they needed to take precautions in advance. Another war in the next 5 years may lead to a decline in the power of Konoha. His 3 students performed spectacularly in the previous war and made names for themselves as the legendary Sanins. Lately, Orochimaru had been involved with Danza with some shady experiments. He would look into them in the future, as his hands were tied to maintain the stability of the village for now. Also, according to intel from his Anbus tailing Danza, Danza seemed to have some dealings with the Hansa of the Salamander. Hiruzen contemplated over this matter. Although there are various shady and unclear parts in the intel about their collaboration, and I am unclear of Danza's motives, but I trust Danza that he won't take any actions against the interest of the village. Sigh. I am getting old and I need to find a successor for the Hokage's position. After Yagami left the Hokage's office, he hurriedly rushed towards Uchiha compounds. After the appointment of the second Hokage, the Uchiha clan was assigned the role of village military police force, and thus their clan compounds were pushed to the edge of the village. Although there was some unrest among the clansmen about this matter, the clan was still able to flourish. Yagami hurriedly entered the Uchiha compounds and dashed towards his house. After he entered the house, he was greeted by his wife Fumiko, who had a bulge in her stomach. He hurriedly held her and passed Izuna to her as he spoke. Fumiko immediately boiled some milk and warm it mildly to feed to the baby. Fumiko is shocked by the action of Yagami, but she still did what Yagami said to her. After 5 minutes, Fumiko walked out of the kitchen with milk in a bottle and began to slowly feed Izuna. Izuna was very hungry from previous events. His body automatically moved when milk was placed in his mouth as he began to suck the nipple of the bottle and drank milk. While drinking milk, he stared at Fumiko and started thinking. So, she is Aunt Fumiko, the mother of Shisui Uchiha. It wasn't clear in anime or manga about any of the parents of Shisui, but if my guess is correct, they somehow died in war or were secretly disposed of by the root. After, Shisui was an important piece of Danza, and Danza tends to gain full control over his subordinates. In this life, I would try my best to protect my loved ones. I will at least save uncle and aunt, even if it means to confront Danza earlier than necessary. As Izuna was lost in his thoughts and was drinking the milk, Fumiko was having a questionnaire with Yagami. So, whose child is this? You went out on a mission with your team 3 weeks ago. If my memory serves me right, you have returned at least a week ago. Yagami was overwhelmed by her questionnaire, was about to respond to her when Fumiko interrupted. Don't tell he is your illegitimate child, Yagami Uchiha. So, this was the reason you returned late from your mission. You cheated on me, Yagami, answer me, Yagami. Yagami was about to respond to her but was interrupted again. When I was tending to your house here in Konoha, you went out somewhere to enjoy yourself and even brought a child with you. Yagami, you even forgot about our incoming child and left me alone. I am not satisfied with your answer, then don't even think about seeing my face again. I will return to my father and complain to him about your debauchery. He is clan leader, he will surely take actions against you. And also my younger brother Fugaku is about to succeed him as village chief. Your days in the village would be numbered. Fumiko threatened Yagami, who at this point was sweating buckets of sweat. He hurriedly held Fumiko's hand with one hand and placed his another hand over her mouth as he stopped her from speaking. Stop. Let me explain. He began to narrate the incidents of the mission as tears began to stream down from his eyes while explaining. Fumiko attentively listened to her as her eyes became moist and she started bawling out her eyes. Fumiko cried for a while before she was interrupted by a tug on her clothes. Izuna was staring at the conversation between Yagami and Fumiko and he was amused by their interactions. The bubbly personality of Fumiko surprised him, but what shocked him more was the revelation. So, in this universe, Fumiko is the elder sister of Fugaku. What the actual fuck? It was never mentioned in anime or manga, but maybe it is one of the arrangements of God. Now, I must save Itakai and his family. I don't care about other Uchihas as most of them are way over the head, drunk upon their power and bloodline. Maybe this is the side effect of the bloodline curse. Black Zetsu sure has tempered a lot with Uchiha bloodline. If I am unable to find a cure for the curse, then I guess a wipeout of the Uchiha would be necessary, or I can kill those stubborn old fools of the Uchiha clan and preserve its heritage. That black zombie plotted and wiped out the entire lineage of Hagoromo Otsutsuki. Maybe he had a greater grudge against Hagoromo compared to Hamura. Hyuga clan was able to survive after all. Feeling tired, Izuna pulled the clothes of Fumiko as he wanted to sleep. Fumiko looked over at Izuna, who was tugging her clothes. Her motherly instincts kicked in as she was able to sense what Izuna was conveying. She laid him on a small crib nearby. Yagami and Fumiko were expecting their first child, so they had made all the necessary preparation for the welcome of the child. She gently caressed Izuna before she covered Izuna in a blanket. It was the month of September and the cold wind was flowing outside. To prevent the baby from catching a cold, she gently wrapped him in the blanket before she returned to Yagami to continue their conversation. Fumiko went to one of the nearby cabinets as she pulled its drawers and took out some bandages and medicines. She applied the medicines and wrapped bandages around Yagami's wounds as she continued to ask. So, he is their child. Now I noticed it, he looks similar to Akira. I am sorry, Yagami, for accusing you falsely. Yagami gently caressed her bulge as he muttered. It's all right. I don't want Izuna to feel the absence of his parents. We will take care of him like overchild and he will be the elder brother of our Shisui. Shisui? Fumiko frowned as she questioned. Yes, Shisui, that's the name I thought for your baby boy. Yagami replied. How are you so sure that our child will be a boy? Questioned Fumiko. I have a gut feeling that our newborn child will be a boy. Enough of that, list all of the necessary things required to take care of a newborn child, I will immediately buy them. We will pamper Azuna a lot. Fumiko nodded as she began to list out the things necessary for childcare. Tomorrow I will go and consult my father more about this matter. Also, I will meet Fugaku. After all, he will soon turn 22 and I need to find a suitable girl for him to marry. Knock knock, knock. Yagami-san. Yagami-san. Their conversation was interrupted by as an Uchiha clansman in police uniform knocked on their door. Yagami frowned as he immediately greeted the police officer and inquired. What's the matter, Kazuma-san? You seem to be in a hurry. Yagami-san, one of the Anbus from Hokage's office came to inform me at the police station. There seems to be an emergency as your presence is required at the village hospital. Kazuma replied. A terrible premonition rose in Yagami's heart as he clutched Kazuma's hand and furiously shook him. Please elaborate more, Kazuma-san. What's the matter? I am not aware of necessary details too, I was only told to inform you about this matter. Kazuma replied as he pulled back his hand as he stared at Yagami in accusation. Ignoring the ugly expression on Kazuma's face, Yagami dashed towards the village hospital as he jumped on the roof and disappeared. Chapter 7, Reaper from Hell. A few hours earlier. At the border of Fire Nation, there was an intense fight going in the forest. Akira and Eiko were engaged in a furious fight against Iwa ninjas. 4 jounins and 3 special jounins surrounded both of them. The right hand of one of the jounin was detached, but he still wielded a kunai in the left hand and clashed with them. Clank, clank. The sound of metal hitting metal rang as both sides retreated after an attack. Both Akira and Eiko had consumed some chakra pill and were regenerating their chakra while combating Iwa ninjas. Earth style, mud bullet. One of the jounins made some hand signs and spewed out a bullet of mud. Akira jumped up in the air and dodged the bullet as the bullet hit a nearby tree and broke into half. Clang. Akira blocked an attack from the rod of another Iwa jounin as used the momentum from the attack to somersault and land on the branch of a nearby tree. Meanwhile, Eiko also wielded metal wires as she tied many shurikens to it and launched them at the 3 special jounins. She controlled the directions of the shurikens with the wire as she continued to assault the special jounins. The Iwa special jounins jumped and dodged as they ran in between the trees. Eiko was tracing their movements with her Sharingan as she continued to attack them without giving any chance for making hand signs. The remaining 2 jounins of Iwa needed chakra in their hands as one of them flung a huge rock towards the Eiko. Earth style, boulder crash. A large rock was flung toward Eiko. Eiko immediately pulled the metal wire as all the wires tightened as made a trap tied in between the trees. The rock was blocked by a large number of wire strands as few of them snapped. The broken wires launched shurikens with much greater speed towards the special jounins as the back of one of the special jounin was impaled by many shurikens. The impaled special jounin breathed his last. His body dropped on the ground. The other 2 special jounins were able to take cover behind the trees and escape from the shurikens. Eiko panted and covered her arms with bandages as her arms were bleeding from the strain from the wire. Although she was able to block the rock jutsu with wires, it created a huge amount of tension in metal wires as they pierced her skin and wounded her hands. Akira noticed this and hurriedly regrouped with Eiko. He wasn't able to gather enough chakra, but he gathered all of his restored chakra in his eyes as they began to change. The tomos in his Sharingan merged as they formed a pinwheel with 4 spokes perpendicular to each other tilted at 4 to 5 degrees. Blood leaked from both of his eyes as he muttered, Mangekyo Sharingan. The Iwa ninjas were startled then saw and they hurriedly made hand signs to interrupt Akira. Gates of Hell, Reaper Summon. Akira slumped on the ground as his vision began to blur. Mangekyo Sharingan puts a heavy toll on the user's body and their vision would deteriorate over time. The awakening of a Mangekyo Sharingan granted the user a powerful unique power at a great cost. The unique power of his Sharingan was able to open the gates of hell to summon a Death Reaper for 30 seconds, which was able to slaughter his enemies before vanishing. But there was a catch with this power. Whenever he used this power, entirety of his chakra reserves will run dry and a portion of his vitality would be consumed and he would be bedridden for months. So, he always used this jutsu as a last resort, as he won't able to use it again for a while with his eye. He casted this jutsu during the second Shinobi War with his right eye when he was surrounded by lots of Amigakyo ninjas. That was his first time using this jutsu. The duration of this jutsu depended on his chakra reserve capacity rather than the amount of chakra he had left. The limit can be overdrafted, but then the vitality of the user will begin to drain. Every powerful jutsu had its own weaknesses. He awakened his Sharingan during the second Shinobi War when one of his close friends died in the war. His newly awakened Sharingan cast this jutsu and slaughtered an entire team of jounins. The jutsu drained his chakra and vitality as he fainted. He was saved by Eiko, who carried him over to the camp. He had to rest for the entire 6 months before he was able to do the mission again. He later married Eiko, and after he confessed his love to her, Akira fainted with such thoughts as he was caught by Eiko. A large torii gate encircled within a circle opened in the air as an eerie skeletal hand grabbed the edges of the door. A large scythe dripping with blood slowly emerged from the door. An eerie aura was emitted from the scythe as nearby trees began to wither, as large clouds began to swirl and cover the sky, blocking the sun. Darkness surrounded the nearby area as the scent of blood and death permeated in the air. The Iwan ninjas were terrified as their gathered chakra dispersed from their bodies. The legs became jelly as their face went pale. A large skeleton covered in purple robes with green eyes emerged in the real world. Its gloomy eyes gazed at the Iwan ninjas. Scraee. The Reaper screeched loudly as it slowly began to float towards the terrified Iwan ninjas. It slowly raised its massive blood-red scythe and swung it. A large gale blew away all nearby trees as a large crater was left in 100-meter radius. The bodies of the Iwan ninjas were nowhere to be seen. The Reaper opened its mouth wide open as its skeletal jaw appeared in Eiko's vision. The Reaper sucked the souls of the Iwan ninjas as it dragged them to depths of the hell to be never reincarnated again. 30 seconds were up as the Reaper entered inside the door as the door closed shut and disappeared. The sky began to clear, but the nearby area was devastated beyond recognition. All of the life forms in the radius of 100 meters except for Akira and Eiko died. Akira and Eiko laid inside the crater for a while as Eiko gathered enough energy to move. Her body was very weak and even moving a step caused pain in her entire body. Akira laid unconscious in her lap as she stared at the dripping blood from his eyes. She took out a bandage, wiped the blood from Akira's eyes, and tied the bandage over Akira's eyes. She began to wrap Akira's left hand with bandages too, as it was badly mutilated and needed immediate attention. She opened a sealing scroll and took out a small bottle of potassium permanganate as he bit the cap off and dripped the bitter red medicine on Akira's arm. She dressed Akira's and her wounds as she began to stand up slowly. She lifted Akira's unconscious body and placed it on her shoulder and began to crawl out of the crater. As she was walking out from the crater, a memory of the second Shinobi War flashed by in her mind. It was the same setting as the present. Akira laid unconscious on the ground. It was she who noticed him and carried him over to the camp. With such thoughts, She slowly reached the edge of the crater as she climbed out of it. She was stunned to see the sight out from the crater. Nearly 10 Iwa Anbus surrounded her and were ready to assault her. A pained expression rose on her face as she gave up on her misfortune. So, the reinforcements appeared after all. Eiko closed her eyes and waited for her imminent death. Chapter 8, Severe Injuries. Kenjutsu Style, Executioner's Slash. A large white blade made of chakra appeared from the depths of the forest and gorged out a small fissure in the form of a slash in front of Iwa ninjas, thus preventing their forward march. The Iwa Anbus immediately retreated as they warily stared at the newcomer. A Konoha ninja with silver hairs and dark eyes that had dark lines underneath them appeared in their vision. The man had spiky, silver-colored hair that reached into the middle of his back tied in a ponytail and bangs that hung over his Konoha forehead protector. He wore a standard Konoha nin uniform with a pair of gloves, flak jacket bandages on his right arm, and the addition of distinctive short sleeves which had red edges and the standard crest of Uzu Shogakyo on it. There was a holster hung diagonally upon his right shoulder. The man had a chakra saber in his right which emitted a streak of white chakra. One of the Iwa shinobi hurriedly opened up his bingo book as he checked the details of the newcomer. There was a picture of the newcomer with his details printed on the bingo book. Name, Sakumo Hatake. Code name, White Fang. Age, 35 years. Affiliation, Konohigakyo. Shinobi rank, Jounin rank. Threat level, S rank. Bounty, 250 million ryo. Other information, a very powerful Jounin rank ninja of Konoha who made his name in the Second Ninja War. He is also known to have killed Sand Village puppeteer Kiyo's son and daughter-in-law. His most recognizable trait is a white light chakra saber which he wields with proficiency. Skilled in kenjutsu, several A-rank ninjutsus, and hand-to-hand combat. If faced against him, any shinobi below the Kage level is advised to run to preserve his life. The Iwa Anbu went pale in fear as he hurriedly conveyed the details to other Iwa Anbus. Retreat, we aren't his opponent. He is the famed White Fang of Konoha. Run. All of the Iwa Anbus began to retreat as they made a smoke screen with smoke bombs. Sakumo ignored them as went near Eiko and Akira. Eiko, who saw Iwa Anbus retreating, heaved a sigh of relief as she thanked Sakumo. Thank you, Sakumo-san. If it was not for your timely arrival, I and my husband would surely have died. Sakumo nodded to Eiko in response as he helped her take support against a nearby tree. He began to maneuver around the surroundings to detect any possible ambush. After searching for a while, he perched on a nearby tree as he gazed down at the remnants of the battle below. Sakumo was surprised to see the radius and depth of the crater. He reassessed the Uchiha couple as his opinion of them was raised up by a notch. So, this is the power of a genius Uchiha. They sure are freak of nature, and given enough time they may surpass me in future. After a while, an entire troop of Konoha ninjas arrived on the scene. They began to scout near the vicinity as one of the vice-captain reported to the Sakumo. Captain, we have scouted out the vicinity for any possible ambush and have cleared the Iwa ninjas which trailed the other Uchiha. Now we are waiting for your further orders. There are no orders for now. Just escort the Uchiha couple safely to the village. Also, tell the medic nins to tend to their injuries. They have suffered some serious injuries and need immediate medical attention. Half an hour earlier, Sakumo overheard the backup request from the Uchiha shinobi. The Uchiha shinobi turned out to be the only son of his late sensei Kigami Uchiha, who died during the later years of the First Shinobi War. So, His teammates are the son and daughter-in-law of the demon S1 Izan, who was the elder sister of his sensei Kigami Uchiha. He was the captain in charge of the border patrol team for this month, as recently there was some unrest at the border. He immediately ordered his team and vice captain to gather some ninjas and medics to act as reinforcement as he marched in advance, which led to the current situation. The medic ninjas checked the condition of Akira and Eiko and did some primary treatment. The medic ninja used the mystic palm technique as he healed the external wounds on their body. After performing the basic healing, he replied, "This is all I can do for now. There aren't necessary instruments to treat them completely. They needed to send to Konoha's main hospital immediately." Sakumo nodded as he ordered his men to retreat. Shortly after they arrived at their base camp, a team consisting of 2 jounins and 3 special jounins was dispatched to Konoha with Akira and Eiko in tow. At present time, back in the Konoha, Yagami hurriedly rushed to the hospital as he pushed aside lots of people and entered the hospital. Many people were irritated by his carelessness and informed hospital authorities. He was stopped by a squad of Anbus who led him to Hokage. The Hokage was waiting for him in one of the wards of the hospital. Yagami hurriedly greeted Hokage as he impatiently asked, "What's the matter, Hokage-sama? Why you urgently called for in village hospital? Don't tell me." Tears began to overflow from Yagami's eyes as he was unable to complete the sentence. Hiruzen coughed up a little bit as he consoled Yagami. "That's not the matter. I have a piece of good news for you, both of your relatives survived the chase." Yagami wiped the tears from his eyes as a smile bloomed on his face. "Thank God. They survived the ambush. Where are they? I want to meet them as soon as possible." Hokage coughed again as reprimanded Yagami. "Let me complete my explanation. Both of them were saved by Sakumo Hatake, who was captain in charge of the patrol team whom you informed. Listen to the report of the doctor before celebrating." Hiruzen pointed at the nearby doctor dressed in a medical coat. The doctor nodded at Hokage and spoke. "Both Akira and Eiko Uchiha are in a very serious condition. Although their external wounds were healed by the primary treatment of the medics, internal and mental injuries are still present." The doctor stopped for a while as he picked up a file from the nearby table. He flipped some pages and continued. "The patient Akira Uchiha had exhausted the entirety of his chakra and a loss of vitality is also detected in his body. This is the outcome of overexertion from the possible usage of a very powerful forbidden jutsu by the patient. Severe mental trauma is also detected, which would require the help of a Yamanaka clan member to recover. Also, overusage of Sharingan had led to temporary vision loss. The patient would be in a coma for a while, and if my estimates are correct, he would take a minimum of 10 months to recover back to his peak condition." The doctor placed the file back on the table and picked up another folder as he began to recount again. The patient Eiko Uchiha suffered from an internal injury in her wound during pregnancy, which leads to premature delivery. Although the delivery was successful, her womb is damaged permanently and she won't be able to give birth again in the future. Similar to the previous patient, this patient also overdrafted her chakra reserves and there is a trace of chakra pills in her body. She would be hospitalized for at least 3 months and would be discharged after that. Yagami heaved a sigh of relief when he heard the news of their safe return. A huge burden was lifted from his shoulders as he smiled cheerfully. Although he was worried about the Akira and Eiko's injuries, the important matter of their safe arrival overshadowed his worries. The doctor stared at Yagami before he spoke. "Yagami-san, it would be for the best if you could escort the newborn child to hospital for his checkup." The baby was born prematurely and we need to check to make sure the baby is healthy. Yagami nodded and thanked the doctor. The doctor nodded and returned back to his work. Yagami was eager to meet Akira and Eiko but was stopped by a nurse. The patients are resting and it is recommended to not disturb their rest. Please visit after a while. Yagami could only sigh helplessly as he came out of the hospital. The gloominess in his eyes was replaced by worry. He went to a nearby civilian store and purchased all the necessities mentioned by his wife. Yagami returned to his house as he explained the entirety of the matter to Fumiko. He was bombarded by another round of questions as he silently explained the details to his wife. After Fumiko was satisfied with the explanation, she went to the nearby crib and picked up Izuna as she held him gently in her arms. Let's go. I will escort you to the hospital and meet with Eiko. I have some serious talking to do with her. Yagami nodded as both of them slowly walked towards the hospital. Chapter 9, Failed Schemes. Yagami and Fumiko reached the hospital with Izuna. Izuna was still sleeping in Fumiko's arms. Yagami informed the doctor about Izuna as the doctor agreed to do a checkup of Izuna. The doctor picked up Izuna and placed him on the bed to start his checkup. The doctor took out a stethoscope as he recorded the heartbeat of Izuna. The count was 70 beats per minute, which were normal for an infant. Next up, he called his Hyuga assistant to check the chakra network or any internal damage to the kid. The Hyuga activated his Bakugan as he began to check the chakra network. The Hyuga was startled as he screamed loudly. The doctor and Uchiha couple were surprised by the exaggerated reaction of Hyuga. What's the matter, Asahi? What did you see? Was there any problem? The doctor calmly inquired from the Asahi Hyuga. What's the matter? Speak. Is my nephew all right? There is anything wrong with him, right? Fumiko launched a barrage of questions at Hyuga medic. The Hyuga medic gulped his saliva. Izuna was startled by the noise and he began to cry. I was tired and lost in my sleep. Suddenly, I felt like somebody is peeking through me. I was startled awake as I checked my surroundings to look for the pervert who was defiling me with his gaze. What awaited me was the creepy white eyes of Hyuga. The eyes felt like they were checking every nook and cranny of my body. I was startled by those eyes as I shouted in my fear, but what came out of my vocal cords was the cry of a baby. The doctor and the Uchiha couple blamed the Hyuga for Izuna's crying. The Hyuga apologized as he deactivated his Bakugan. Fumiko picked up Izuna as she began to gently pat Izuna to stop his crying. Izuna stopped crying after a while. The attention of a doctor and the Uchiha couple turned to Asahi and they questioned him. So, what was the matter? Asahi gulped another mouthful of saliva before he answered. There is no problem with the body of the infant. In fact, the kid might be healthier than any normal infant. So, Fumiko frowned and was irritated by the roundabout manner of this Hyuga. The anomaly is that the infant has huge amounts of chakra reserves abnormal for his age. Also, the color of the chakra of his chakra is different from other people. His chakra color transits between the 7 color of rainbow and would occasionally turn black and sometimes white. I have never seen anyone with such a weird chakra color. Izuna, who heard it, began to sweat bucket as he mentally prayed. Oh. Shit. These Hyugas with their creepy eyes. Why he had to check my chakra. Any excuse could be made for the large amounts of chakra, but how to explain the festival lights color of my chakra? Izuna began to contemplate over this matter. Suddenly the light bulb of his thought lit up as an idea popped up in his mind. Festival lights. I have an affinity for all elements, which means light element too. Can't I manipulate my chakra color to appear monochrome? Arjuna focused his mind as he began to mutter in mind. Change my chakra color to green. Change my chakra color to green. Arjuna muttered for a while, but he felt no change in his body. Instead, he built up some pressure in his intestines and released a fart through his anus. Ba. Everyone presented in the room was startled by this sound as they looked at Arjuna. Arjuna embarrassedly closed his eyes as he muttered in his thoughts. Damn it. The doctor approached Arjuna as he placed his hand on Arjuna's stomach as checked it before he asked. He is all right. There is no trouble with his body, there was just built up of gases in his body which he released. What did you feed him earlier? We fed him some packaged milk from the shop. The milk was fresh and was supplied this morning. Fumiko replied to the doctor. The doctor nodded and advised. I would recommend feeding mother's milk for at least the next 3 months. Yes, I will keep that in mind, Fumiko replied. All right. Asahi, activate your Bakugan and check the chakra of Arjuna again. Asahi nodded and activated his Bakugan as he checked the chakra of Arjuna again. Strange, it is green in color. Asahi muttered. Maybe your eyes are faulty, go and get an eye checkup. Fumiko replied angrily. She was pissed by this Hyuga who made her Arjuna cry. But, I am currently using an eye drop prescribed by Dr. Yosho. What prescription? That Dr. Yosho of yours is a quack. Giving such a faulty prescription. Fumiko angrily snarled. Cough, cough, cough. The doctor coughed violently before he replied. That quack Dr. Yosho would be me. I am sorry if my prescription is faulty, but please don't blame my professional skills or I would ask to visit another doctor. Dr. Yosho was angry as no doctor liked to be called a quack on their face. He blamed the entire fault on Asahi and thought of working him to death for the entire next week. Asahi felt a chill run down his spine as he looked at the expression of Dr. Yosho. Dr. Yosho had an ugly expression on his face as he angrily stared at him. Asahi gulped a mouthful of saliva as he thought. Please, God. Spare me from this demon. I don't want to overwork again. Fumiko apologized and hurriedly left the room with Arjuna and Yagami. They asked one of the hospital staff for the room of Eiko Uchiha and Akira Uchiha. The staff member checked the room and directed them to room No. 23. They thanked the staff member and hurried to the room. After they reached the hospital room, they knocked the room slightly and waited for a reply. Come in. Yagami and Fumiko entered the room and saw Akira still lying in coma with an IV drip and a cardiometer attached to him. On another near to the window, Eiko sat on the bed with bandages wrapped around her arms as she stared at them. Eiko waved her hand at Fumiko and spoke. How are you, Fumiko? Oh. You brought Arjuna with you. Come and give him to me. I want to see his face and soothe my heart. Fumiko handed over Arjuna to Yagami before she stomped her way to Eiko and angrily twisted her ear. Oh, oh. It hurts, Fumiko. Stop twisting my ear. But Fumiko continued and angrily questioned. Answer me, Eiko. What thoughts were in that little almond-sized brain of yours, when you decided to stay in the land of waterfalls for too long? I felt very good in that place. All the waterfalls and the scenic view. Eiko replied. Oh, oh, oh. Fumiko twisted her ear harder as she questioned the sanity of Eiko. Eiko, do you know how much I missed you, and the first thing I heard about you is such a terrible news. I wasn't able to sleep the entire night when I heard about the mishap from Yagami. What if? Fumiko stopped as she wasn't able to mutter the next words and she began to cry in Aiko's arms. Aiko consoled her for a while as she muttered, "Oh, the devil of Uchiha has such a sweet spot in her heart." Fumiko got up and twisted Aiko's ear again as Aiko grimaced in pain, but she had a grin on her face. "Don't take such reckless actions again. You are a mother now and you should behave like one. Take care of your Azuna. I heard from the doctor that you won't be able to become a mother again. Is that true?" Fumiko asked with worry. Aiko smiled as she gently stroked Azuna's head. "I won't take such reckless actions again as I would retire as a shinobi. I will take care of Azuna and don't worry, Azuna is enough for me and beside your son would also be my son." Fumiko smiled as she wiped away her tears and hugged Aiko. "Welcome back, Aiko. I missed you." "I missed you too, Fumiko." Yagami watched their interactions silently as he observed Akira and silently prayed. "Get well soon, my friend. Your family is waiting for you." Giggle, giggle. The giggling of a baby was heard as Azuna tried to hug his mother. Azuna was startled when he saw his father and mother alive. He felt genuinely happy when his parents were alive. He tried to call his mother but what came out of his mouth were the giggles of a baby when he tried to speak to her. He hugged his mother and laid on her chest. Aiko was happy when she saw Azuna giggling. She misunderstood his action of hugging her for his hunger. She removed her ninja vest slightly and began to breastfeed Azuna. Azuna was perplexed when Aiko began to feed him, but he happily went along as he began to drink his mother's milk and felt bliss. Somewhere in the outskirts of Konoha, in an underground building, a goat-masked shinobi in an Anbu outfit presented a scroll to a man sitting on a seat similar to Hokage. The man dismissed the Anbu as he opened the scroll and read its contents. "Damn it. My plan failed." The man slammed his hand on his seat as he shouted angrily. "My purpose to create unrest among Uchihas failed, I have to think of another way." Chapter 10, Reflection on Past and Plans for Future. A fair-skinned boy with spiky, black hair with a tint of a blue tint to them was lying lazily in the grass. He wore a black-colored t-shirt and black pants with Uchiha crest imprinted on its back. The boy had black eyes with a golden pupil. He laid lazily on the ground with one leg crossed over another as he was lost in his thoughts. His eyes changed as a Sharingan with two tomos appeared in both of his eyes. His Sharingan was different from usual, as instead of the usual black pupil, his Sharingan had a golden pupil. The sclera and cornea of his Sharingan were normal, the only difference was the golden pupil and silver iris which were similar to his normal eye. The boy began to mutter. "It had been 3 years since my rebirth in this world. Lots of things happened in the past 3 years. Shisui was born 1 month later than me. My father took 9 months to recover from his coma. Mother took care of me for 9 months together with Uncle Yagami and Aunt Fumiko. Fugaku, the younger brother of Aunt Fumiko, became clan head a year ago, when Grandpa clan leader passed away unexpectedly." Izuna sighed as he recalled all these events. Uncle Fugaku married Aunt Mikoto 6 months later. That wedding was such a hassle. Izuna caressed his cheeks as he remembered those old cronies of the Uchiha clan pulling his cheeks non-stop. He shuddered when he felt that sensation as it was one of his worst days ever. He gazed at Shisui who was playing with a toy shuriken and kunai and sighed. I wondered how this little guy was able to handle all those aunties and grandmas. Damn. Even the kid toys of this world are kunai and shurikens. I missed those days when I played with small remote control cars. Izuna shook his head of such thoughts as he recalled more memories of the past 3 years. Recently, I saw some change in the chakra of Aunt Mikoto. When I secretly activated my X-ray vision to check her womb, I was able to see the formation of an embryo. So, this means Itakai would be born in the next 8 months at most. The third ninja war would begin in the next 5 years. I would have to train harder in the future. Izuna sighed when he recalled his progression in the past 3 years. I was able to awaken my Sharingan at birth, but it took me 3 years to evolve it to Tutomo Sharingan. Part of the reason being, I was under constant watch from my parents and was unable to keep it active all the time. I don't want to freak out my parents by showing them an awakened Sharingan on a newborn baby. Also, the pupil of Sharingan is golden with silver iris. Maybe it is the mutation granted by the boon from God. Also, my Sharingan is a Chokutomo just like Madara and Sasuke's, and even Dad's Sharingan is Chokutomo. Well, it can be linked to father and me being part of Madara's lineage and Sasuke being Indra's reincarnation. In my free time when I wasn't under the observation of any of my parents, I would practice my Sharingan and successfully evolved it to Tutomo just by keeping it on. I had massive amounts of chakra, thus constant usage of Sharingan had no negative impact on me. But the most depressing thing is, I can't practice ninjutsu and chakra control exercises. My body is still that of a 3-year-old boy. It won't be able to handle the stress from my massive reserves of chakra despite a healing factor comparable to Hashirama. I am not a masochist who will suffer unnecessary pain to gain a tiny bit of power while greatly harming my body. The medical knowledge from my previous life is of great help here, as I can easily recognize any abnormality in my body through my Sharingan and would be able to act accordingly. There is no particular major difference in the body of a person from the Shinobi world and my home world except the chakra network. I assume that the chakra network is similar to the circulation system of the body, where it circulates chakra through the body instead of blood, and a person can release chakra through his tenketsu points. To confirm my analysis, I secretly checked the body of civilians with my Sharingan. There was no fundamental difference between their body and a Shinobi's body. Only the bodies of civilians were unable to utilize chakra because either their chakra wasn't enough or their chakra network was blocked. To unlock one's chakra, a person has to flow his chakra in a particular manner so as not to damage the chakra meridians. This whole ordeal looked like a cultivation world's shit to me. Back to the point, I haven't unlocked my chakra because of fear of backlash from chakra meridians. I will try it in the next few months. So, my training was meh. The only exception being Sharingan. But that didn't stop from reading books. I was able to read and write at the age of 1.5. This greatly shocked my parents as they attested me as a genius, the rumors of which were exaggerated in the village. Danza won't try any tricks again for a while. Ever since then, the Uchiha clan grew wary of village elders when my parents briefed them on the possibility of a traitor during the clan meeting. Those old fogies of the clan grew wary as recently lots of Uchihas with Sharingan went missing or were found dead with their eyes gouged out. The clan demanded an answer from Hokage, to which as usual he could only convince them with some shitty reason which I am unaware of. I began to decide my future plans as my journey in the ninja world will begin soon. Firstly, I will awaken my chakra, but at the age of 4. Then I will master the fire style, great fireball technique which I already knew hand sign of. Courtesy to father and my Sharingan which copied it when father practices in the backyard. This will graduate me from the so-called ceremony of Uchiha. I wasn't particularly fond of their custom, but I had to respect my parents' wishes. And the most important thing, I won't even touch taijutsu until I turn 7. My body and all my bones will be grown by the age of 7, and practicing after that won't hinder my growth and negatively impair my body in any way. So, until then I will mostly train in ninjutsu. As for sage arts, that's something leagues away from for now. If I can see Jiraiya or Minato use the technique, then I would be able to see the nature energy with my eyes and then direct it in my body to attain sage mode. I activated the electromagnetic spectra mode of my Sharingan and looked into the air. Various colors of different frequencies and wavelengths appeared in my vision and painted it like a canvas. Damn it! I can't recognize nature energy among all of this nonsense. I have to figure out the color and type of nature energy before I master Sage mode, so that's a plan far away in the future. I helplessly shook my head and began to focus on other things. One of the most brilliant hypotheses I made was about the use of Kekkei Genkai. If I have enough proficiency in the required nature release and I can see the ratio of chakra type in a Kekkei Genkai, then I would be able to perhaps replicate that Kekkei Genkai. That's my assumption for now, and I need to verify it somehow. But till now, I haven't seen any Kekkei Genkai user of chakra type. The physical users of the Kekkei Genkai are all around me. The scary eyes of Hyuga still creep me out. I closed my eyes as I laid in the backyard of my house while keeping an eye on Shisui. Nii-san, Nii-san. My thoughts were interrupted as Shisui walked to me and began to pull my t-shirt. I deactivated my Sharingan as asked Shisui. What's the matter, Shisui? Shisui tossed the toy kunai towards me and spoke in a cute voice. Nii-san, play ninja with me. You will become enemy and I will be the brave ninja who defeats you. Shisui, why am I always the bad guy? Sometimes you become the bad guy and I will be the good guy. Shisui shook his head as he spoke. No, Nii-san, you look more of a bad guy than me. I looked at my spiky hairs and my cool black attire as I thought out loud. Shisui, how do I look like a bad guy to you? Shisui placed his small under the chin as he looked like he was seriously contemplating over the profoundness of life. After a while, he spoke. I have a gut feeling that you will ruin many people in the future. Speechless, I was utterly speechless at those words as I continued to get defeated by Shisui. So that's it, guys, hope you like the video. Like, share and subscribe the channel for more such videos, and tell me in the comment section if you have any questions or recommendation about the new What If series you guys wants to listen. Peace.